Then we will go ahead and get started with today's lesson. Does the virtual robot have encoders that can detect when it has turned 90 degrees? That's a great question, Joseph. Uh, the virtual robot we were using in MATLAB does not have encoders. It only has a compass that we showed you guys last time um, that will give you the actual orientation, so the degrees at which it's turned. But what we're going to cover today is how to do it in Simulink. And in Simulink, the robots will have a couple more sensors, and you can add the encoders in case you're looking for it to rotate exactly 90 degrees or to move forward exactly for 1 meter or whatever distance you want. So that's called closed loop control. And you can definitely do it in how we're going to show you today. We're going to get to using sensors later in the lessons. So in a couple of weeks from now, we're going to be using sensors to do things instead of using the time that has passed. Okay, so do we have any questions up to there right now? So Mark saying, "Hey Chief, I lost where you got the display." Yes, so you can just click on the canvas and then type on your keyboard, and if you type display, it should be the first one. Uh, but if you are exploring more Simulink, just you can always go back to that Simulink library by pressing the Simulink library button. And in this case, the display is under sinks. Hope that answered that question. Um, I see that some of you guys are sending some YouTube videos, so we're gonna go ahead and finish the lesson, and at the end, we're gonna cover all the YouTube videos that you guys are forwarding me. Um, what is the square root function block? So again, I just got it by clicking on the canvas and then typing square root. And if you scroll down, that's you hit enter, and then you'll get the block, square root in this case. But I believe that, yep, that is part of the math function block. Um, how do you rename the constants? If you click one time on the block, you'll see that you get this sort of text editor cursor. It looks like an eye. You can click on the text underneath it, and then you can edit it. So you can see I can type many A's here and then delete them. That's how you rename the blocks. And the same goes for the subsystems. See, I can select the text underneath. Um, how did you make and how do you go underneath the subsystem again? The way we made the subsystem was by selecting blocks, right clicking, and then finding the option for creating subsystem. And then again, you guys can always watch the recording afterwards. And if you want to look at what's inside the subsystem, double click, and then you will go inside of it. Okay, I think we've covered a couple of questions. We will go ahead and keep on moving. Um, Now, if you're inside the subsystem and you want to go back to the model, I don't know if you've noticed me pressing this arrow right here, this arrow that shows up. You can click that. It will take you back to the top level, is what we call this. Or you can also follow back this this strip here that's showing you in which part of the model you're located. Right now, my model doesn't have a name. It's called untitled, and I'm inside the subsystem calculate hypotenuse. So I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to go back. Um, to my top level. Then somebody asked, is the subsystem kind of similar to a function? Yes, it's exactly like a function, but in a model-based approach. So it's intended for you to keep your diagrams clean. Um, okay. Somebody asks, what happens if the bot crashes into the orange wall? Not much happens. It doesn't explode. It just kind of like gets stuck against the orange wall. We can go ahead and make it crash into it real quick. You guys can explore that as well. And before we do that, we'll go ahead and answer the other question, which is how do you change the obstacles? So if you double click on that obstacle environment and you will get obstacle settings, you can click this button, set obstacles, and it will ask you how many obstacles do you want to place. You have a maximum of 10. I'm just going to go ahead and set 3 obstacles. click OK, and it will bring up this window that says draw obstacle 1 as a rectangle by clicking and dragging. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up 3 obstacles, one right there, one right there, and another one right there. And that's it. Then you click OK. And the next time you run the model, we should see that it will update with the new obstacles. And now we will have the robot crashing into the orange wall. You can see that it's pushing against it because the wheels are still trying to turn, but it just can't move it. Okay, that sounds great. So now we know how to do tank control. Can we use our own game controls for the arcade and tank modes? So I'm not. I can use like the Xbox controllers. Um, so I think the question is how else can you control the robot? And if you type in here, you try to look in the simulating libraries for gamepad. Um, so you will find, well, for one thing, you will find all the libraries for the VAX Cortex, which is what you will use. But if you want to control the simulation, you will find a gamepad simulator block. And you can use this and it will give you input from a controller that you connect to your computer, and it will give you all of the signals coming from those buttons for both a Logitech or an Xbox controller. And you should also be able to connect other controllers like a PS4 controller. So if you have a PS4 controller, what you're going to be using is if you click in Simulink and type joystick, you will find a block called joystick input. So this joystick input block is what you'll be able to use with PlayStation 4 controllers or any other sort of input device to your computer. Um, let's see what other questions do we want. Uh, we will be emailing information for both this recording for this session and next recording in the lesson recap to everybody registered. Um, I am not sure I see other questions that we have to address, so please let me know. Can we use PS3 controller? I don't believe the PS3 controller has a driver for Windows. Uh, I know PS4 is definitely supported. I'm not sure about PS3, but I don't think it is. So it looks like somebody's getting an error saying that you don't have a parameter named sim mechanics rigidly bound block. I think when you get that error, that means that you haven't installed all of the products. I guess the question would be make sure that you have all the products installed. Can a ramp be added as an obstacle? Certainly, yes. So these environments that you see here, you can build them. So what we did is we built this one for the training, but if you guys want to modify them, you can find instructions online on how to add different things to this type of environments, and you can add different objects that you guys are interested in, in, in placing in there. Okay, so if you don't have a controller, you can still control robots by using these knobs, these dashboard knobs. You can also control them using the keyboard on your computer. So if you're interested in how to control them using the keyboard in your computer, I believe you can go to the playground or the same files. If you go to examples, there should be models. Um, and within here, you should be able to find maybe not here. So if you go to the apps, if you can't find it, just send us an email to Robotics Arena and we will let you know where to find it. Open examples folder, models, and you should be able to find a lot more examples under examples models. If you click on the Robotics Playground app, which is up here in MATLAB, you go to apps and then you find it in there as in my apps Robotics Playground, and that will point you towards the installation folders. Um, then click on open examples folder and go to models, and you should find one called uh, RP underscore keyboard control. You will also find one for gamepad examples and VEX B5 gamepad examples in there.